Laid out their congressional redistricting map. The redrawing creates 5 districts that lean towards the GOP on top of the existing 25 districts. This comes before next year's midterm election and could boost Republican chances of keeping control of the U.S. House. KLTV7's Michael Richardson has reaction.
When you have this kind of a population change, for me, I think it presents a reasonable reason with which to look at this again.
Smith County Republican Party Chair David Stein says he supports lawmakers looking at the state's congressional maps during the special session, pointing to population growth.
One of the things that I heard is that Congressman Moran would pick up Cherokee County, which I believe that the people in Cherokee County would be very happy about because they're much more East Texas than they are Dallas.
It's just a power grab.
Nacogdoches County Democratic Party Chair John Watt says he does not support the redistricting effort.
It's just another attempt by Republicans to change the narrative, so to speak, to change things around where it helps them out and disenfranchises other people.
Democratic candidate for governor Bobby Cole echoes a similar sentiment, saying the new maps disenfranchise voters, particularly those in urban areas.
What this map does, it takes thin slices of those urban areas and runs it out over a vast number of rural areas so that their voice and their power are diluted.
Stein does not feel the new maps represent voter suppression, saying there are ample opportunities to vote.
Anytime there's a change in election law, people scream voter suppression. Voters must pay attention.
The new maps come prior to the 2026 midterms, when the president's party traditionally loses seats. Michael Richardson, KLTV7 News.
Now, the new maps still need to be voted on before the special session ends on August 20th, although Texas Governor Greg Abbott can call more sessions.